everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Venicia. This is the Woolly Worker Knitting Podcast, and today I am joining you for a really casual, chill knit and chat. I'm gonna try and do something a bit different than usual. I've really not planned this video at all. The only thing is I've written literally 3 words, which are topics that I may talk about. I may not, maybe not in that order either. It's just, I guess, as a crutch. And I'm also going to try to edit less and to make this as natural and unfiltered as possible. And the reason for that, I guess, is twofold. One is to try and put myself outside of my comfort zone and not rely on post-production as I usually do, because I know that if I mess something up, I usually edit it out, such as ums, ahs, sniffles and sneezes for your benefit, and hesitations like this one. And I guess I'm a bit envious of podcasters who are able to podcast for an hour and a half straight in one cut. Like, I know that they may think that they like the editing skills and that's why they're doing it. Not all of them. But I know that some of them, they don't edit because they don't know how to. But I really highly admire people who are not editing in a way, because they are able to still talk very eloquently, freely for an hour straight, whereas in my videos there's usually bits of like 10-15 seconds that I just cut out every time whenever I'm trying to think of what the next thing I want to say is. So anyway, first things first is I want to challenge myself, try this new format of very low post-production, which also means, I guess because it's in the end chat there won't be anyway, but there probably won't be a lot of text and images on screen. If I refer to things, they'll always be written in the description, because that's always easily people can refer back to that very easily without watching the video. And some people might not look at the screen when they're knitting anyway. Like right now I'm knitting, so I'm not really looking at my phone. So sometimes I feel like people can miss it if I put things on screen. So I'll try not to put things on screen this time. But I will for podcast episodes, don't worry. I know that that's quite important. And then the second reason why I'm doing this in a more chill format is because I've actually heard quite a lot of, good feedback from you guys about the knit and chat specifically, how you really, really enjoy how relaxed and chill they are and not necessarily planned out and thought through as podcasts would be, because then it just really feels like you're knitting with a friend. And right now, it's in the afternoon, I'm alone, I need a friend, and I thought I'd just fire on the camera and knit as if there was a friend with me right now, even though that friend is not going to say anything back to me and I'll be monologuing for, I don't know, I want to say 40 minutes. It could go to an hour, probably won't go more than that. And I've realized that I've already started doing the chat of the knit and chat without doing my proper intro, so I'll reintroduce everything and I will not cut that out of the video. So my name is Venicia. As you probably know, if you watch a knit and chat, you probably are here because you know me in my videos and you're probably not a new viewer. But in case you are, well, hello. I usually have a podcast episode, or like a regular knitting podcast that follows the format of like finished objects, work in progress and everything. You can go check that out if you want. I have, I guess, almost 20 videos to look back onto now, so that's exciting. I've been podcasting for 9 months, which is also very exciting. I guess if it was a baby, it'd be born right now. And I am also on Instagram and on Ravelry at thewoollyworker, where you can find photos of my finished items, as well as comments and notes and modifications. And I'll also say what I'm wearing and what I'm knitting on, because there's always questions about that. So first things first, I'm knitting on the Oslo Hat by PetiteKnit. I'm doing this in Filcolana arwetta and charcoal 956, holding it double, kind of modifying the pattern a tad, making it shorter at the folded brim and making it shorter on the body of the hat, because my goal is to try and make this medium hat size with only 2 kinds of arwetta, because right now I still need to crack open like a third one. This is my second version of this hat. It's for my father, because the first version that I made him got lost in the mail. Have a moment of silence for that hat, please. I will not observe a minute because that will feel like an eternity. But yeah, my plan is to embroider a Belgian hat on top of the brim of this hat. And because I will not be editing this out in the future, I will. You can check out my like Ravelry page and Instagram. Like there's a photo of what this finished hat will look like with the Belgian flag on top. I won't change anything. I'll do exactly what I had done in the first version. I'm also realizing that I didn't tell you the second reason why I'm doing this knit and chat in like a bit of a more informal way. I touched on it. I said that it was because you guys had good feedback about these informal chats. But the other reason is also that I can find it a bit stressful to sit down in front of the camera. The more I plan, it's kind of a vicious circle and like a safety behavior in psychology and therapy. The more I plan, the more stressed I can become, because it makes me realize how much more I need to plan, or the things that I have not planned or cannot plan for. So therefore I'm trying to like take the bull by the horn, I think that's the expression, and just not plan anything, just very, very casually, spontaneously sit down, put the camera on, microphone is plugged, and that's it, to see if I'm still happy with the result. Because if I am, then great. That means I can do more casual knit and chats that don't require too much prep, which is obviously better for me because it's less effort, and then it's better for you because that means that there can be more of them, as opposed to when I not dread making them, but if there's a bit of anticipation and kind of worry about them, I might delay them, which is why I think the last one was in July after my holiday, so it's been quite a while since the last knit and chat. So yeah, so I'm forcing myself to just do it, and then if I don't like it, I probably will still post it because I doubt I will hate it. But if I don't like it as much, then at least I know that my prep work for other videos is very much worth it, and that I'm doing it for a reason, because otherwise I'm not happy with the videos. So this is a bit of an experiment, I guess. Okay, now back to the knitting. What I am wearing is the Mist Sketch Sweater handmade by Florence. I test knitted this earlier in the year. Was really, really happy to be selected because I've been applying to a lot of her test knits, and yeah, I was really happy to be chosen for that one. I love the colors that she picked. I did kind of a similar version but with green instead of blue. She had a very like light, soft baby blue, and I chose a mint. And I did this as a mohair free version of the pattern because I really don't want to wear mohair anymore. And for the cost of a second strand of mohair, I'd rather spend it on a strand of lace alpaca. So this is Isager Alpaca 1 and Alpaca 2. And Isager Alpaca 1 is really becoming one of my favorite yarns to use ever. They have a really nice palette. They have quite a lot of like neutrals. They call them eco shades. All kind of tones of, yeah, grey and browns, I would say. And there's obviously like a black and a white. But then they also have quite a lot of nice colors. Not a lot of bright ones, like quite a lot of muted ones. Muddled, marled, heathered. Like, it's very, very interesting palette. You should check it out. And I love this jumper. I love the fabric. I love the ease. Like, the sleeves are quite large, as you can see, which makes me feel very like cozy and small and snuggled up, which is perfect for today. So it's raining outside, a little cold, although I feel like maybe I'll overheat because I'm nervous. Not a huge amount of nervousness, but when the camera gets turned on, things change, you know. I'm not alone anymore. Like, there's someone watching me, which is a camera. If you've been podcasting or if you're used to recording yourself in any way, shape or form, you know what I mean. But yeah, it has been a while since the last catch up, so I thought I'd just do this little chatty video to tell you what I've been up to, what my thoughts have been up to, because people seem to be interested in that and in my thinking. I feel like I lead a pretty uninteresting, normal, calm life. There's not a lot of events that I go to, or trips, or yeah, I guess events. There's not a lot of events in my life, so I really wouldn't be the kind of person to go for like a channel full of exciting adventures. My life is absolutely devout of adventures, and I'm not complaining about that in the least. I love my life and how calm it is, but it's not interesting in the sense that other people will have much interest or care about what I do. However, some people have said that they're interested in the way that my mind works. I've actually had quite a lot of people tell me that they can totally relate to all the planning that I do and the organization and the way that I see and organize things, like how I approach my knitting practice and pattern search and everything. A lot of people have said that they do that too and it resonated with them. And I'm so glad to hear that, because sometimes my boyfriend kind of, jokingly makes fun of me and says that I spend more time planning my next project and researching yarns before buying it than I do actually knitting. And yeah, he might be right. I talked about this, I think, in a previous knitting chat, where I said that for me, like, all the planning and researching is like a side hobby, and so is yarn buying and pattern buying, like purchasing. And then obviously then there's the actual knitting. And then I have a fourth hobby, which is video making and the Woolly Worker channel and YouTube and Instagram. Although I don't really like Instagram. To be honest, I feel like I really just use Instagram as like a means to an end, which is like, I guess, if I'm being perfectly honest with you, is to get more people on my YouTube. Like, I'm using Instagram as a way to get people on YouTube as opposed to vice versa. I know a lot of podcasters are doing YouTube as a means to an end, but for me, YouTube is the end goal. So some people would use YouTube to drive traffic to their Instagram or their shops or their pattern, like Ravelry sales and everything. But I don't have anything to sell. This is my content. This is what I do. This is what I like doing. And I'll just make a quick note then, because I just thought of a couple topics to talk about in case I run out of things to say. So I'll just write that down. Okay, so the topics I have to talk about today is hard because I don't want to be a downer and I don't want to be a complainer, because there's already so much negativity in the world and on social media, and I guess YouTube is a social media, and I don't want to add to that by any means. But I also know that being candid and honest and open about ups and downs, so therefore, yeah, the downs of life, can be refreshing, especially because in comparison, Instagram will by nature always be very, very positive, picture perfect, everything is great. But we know that that's a lie, or even if it's true, it's just a side of a side of the truth, or one side only of the truth and not the whole truth. So whenever I post nice photos of my knits on Instagram, I just don't have the heart to go and write a whole caption about how many times I had to frog a certain section, or that I don't like the way that it makes my hips look on photos, or because I just post flat lays on Instagram. It's just like, oh, look at how pretty this photo is. But what you don't see are like the nights spent tossing and turning in bed thinking, how am I going to redo that neckline? I don't like it. So that's why I like YouTube, because I can be so much more open and descriptive about what I didn't like, what didn't work out, where I hesitated, my workings behind how I solved any problems that occurred. And Instagram is more like final result, here's the photo, it looks pretty. So, like I said, I don't want to add too much negativity, but I also want to be myself. And I guess I would say I'm an overthinker, an anxious person, not as in I have a generalized anxiety disorder, I don't have diagnosed anxiety, but I am prone to anxiety as an emotion, not as a disorder. And I really want to make that distinction, because I work in mental health and I have treated people with generalized anxiety disorder, and I would never want to take away from the very real struggles that people suffering from JAD face, and the relentlessness of those anxious thoughts on them. That is not my experience. I would say, in general, I have a pretty good control over my thoughts. Not that you should try and control your thoughts, is not something that we advise people. What is good to adopt is a mindfulness approach, where you see your thoughts as more of leaves on a stream floating away. So you can see them appearing, and there may be many, many of them, but you know that the stream will take them away, and then more leaves will come, and they may not be as anxious, or they may be, but they will also pass. And what you're doing is just looking at that stream, seeing your thoughts come, sometimes interacting with them. Maybe you're picking up a leaf and you're thinking, oh yeah, this is a particularly bothersome problem. I am very anxious about this. And I recognize that and I acknowledge that I am anxious right now. And then you put the leaf back on the stream and it gets carried away. Whereas if you kept the leaves on you at all times, you know, if you focused so much on picking all of them up and giving them your attention, you're kind of playing into the anxiety game. So I would say that over the years, I've definitely gotten better at putting the leaves down after picking them up. So I wouldn't say that I'm controlled by my anxious thoughts most of the time, except for when the situations are particularly anxiety inducing. But you know, situations where a lot of people under those same circumstances, they would feel the same as you. Like, we can't be happy or carefree all the time. Sometimes there are stressful situations that there's nothing wrong with you for feeling bad about it. Like, of course you would. So I'm going to give myself grace about the fact that sometimes I cannot control my anxious thoughts. That's also perfectly okay. But all that to say that recently I was in a bit of a not a downward spiral, I guess just in a bit of a low mood. There were a bunch of things that happened like simultaneously or in a row where you just can't catch a break. And sometimes it happens in all different areas of life, like, you know, work, housing, relationship, knitting, social media. Like, there can be a lot of things that go wrong at once. And I'm not going to name everything that went wrong, mostly because I don't even remember most of it. I just know that it was just a lot at once, and I was just very irritable and getting triggered by small things that wouldn't have triggered me otherwise, and a few of these were related to knitting. So I thought that I would share that with you. I guess partly because I'm on the other side of that period now, I can look at it more clearly and I have more distance, so it's not affecting me anymore, so I can talk about it. And maybe if any of you has felt the same thoughts or feelings about your knitting, then you will feel like you're not alone in this. And I don't know. I guess it's just the universality of sharing a feeling feels good, doesn't it? So yeah, I'll share a bit of things. So I was feeling a bit low because I put myself under some pressure to release videos for the podcast. Usually there's things that I know will do well and things that I know will not. So for example, the knit and chat are my sort of lowest views videos. And I understand why. I really can count on, like, the fingers of a hand the knit and chats that I would watch from podcasters. I wouldn't watch a knit and chat from someone that I don't follow because I just don't know them, so I don't want to gamble not liking that hour of chat if I don't know what to expect. So I wouldn't expect people to do that for me if I don't even watch knit and chats. And then on the other hand, stuff like pattern roundups or autumn knitting plans and like mood boards, trends, those videos apparently do really well. So mine have done quite well when I've done them. Not all of those ones, but like some of them in those categories have done really well. And then just when I'm on the front page of YouTube, I see what's being pushed to me, and it's those videos. And then podcasts are usually doing really well, or like really well for their category. So they do quite well. So in the middle of that, better than knit and chat and less than inspirational videos. And they're more consistent. They're way less likely to like kick off and get picked up by people. But they're my favorite things to film is podcast episodes, because it's just so structured, and I've done like 17, 18 of them, so I know how to do them and I know what to expect. So they're like a safe video to do. But anyway, I knew I wanted to make an autumn planning video, and when I was about to release it, I was very nervous because I had high hopes for it, and I just thought, what if it doesn't do well? then I will take it very personally because everybody else on YouTube seems to be doing an autumn plan video and it gets a lot of views. So if I do one and I don't get lots of views, then it'll be personal. And then there's the difference between what I know rationally is that it still depends on the YouTube algorithm, and it's not necessarily something that I would have done wrong. But then in my gut or my heart, I still felt like, well, if it doesn't do well, I will feel down. And it did quite well. Well, it did really well. I got a lot of new subscribers. Maybe you're coming from that video. So just so you know, I was anxious about that video. And then it got me so excited because it did well on YouTube, it added to the excitement I was feeling about the knitting projects anyway. So I was feeling very inspired by my own video and very eager and trepidating with impatience to cast on all those autumn plans I had made. And also because I had committed to do quite a lot of them. I think there were something like 7 sweaters, maybe more, and like 1 cardigan and 3 vests. Like, it was a lot. And the problem was that I was still in the midst of a few summer knits and a test knit. And this is where it all went wrong, because the test knit, I'm so glad I have the finished object, and I was able to participate in the official photo shoot from Rebecca from the Crea Bea, which is an amazing experience I never thought I would be able to do a year ago when I was watching all of her podcasts. Never thought I'd be there in the patterned photos, but here I am. So, in retrospect, I don't think I would have changed a thing, but that test knit really overtook my life because, well, at first I wanted to do a good job and knit it to the deadline and everything, and I don't knit happily on other projects when I have like a deadline knit, so I'd rather do the deadline first and then I can do the rest of the projects. So I was doing it obsessively, and then when Rebecca asked me if I wanted to do the photos, I was over the moon, but I knew that it meant having my sweater finished in advance of the deadline so that we would have time to like obviously block it, dry, and then do the photos before the pattern was released, which was basically a week earlier. And I just added way too much pressure because I had all those projects that I really, really wanted to do, all those autumn projects that I wanted to cast on. None of them had been cast on except a couple of accessories that I did in the meantime while I was doing the sweater, just to like quench that thirst. But I really wanted to make all my new sweaters, and I felt like I would be letting people down because I had made all these big plans, gotten a lot of new subscribers, and I almost felt like I owed it to them to then follow through on my plans of autumn, as if that was the reason that they subscribed to me. And I know that that's not the case. Like, you don't need to reassure me or say that you don't expect anything from me. Like, I know that, but I still felt like I had to. And I know that in the grand scheme of things, if I was really, really stressed and down and burnt out, I could have messaged Rebecca and said, hey, I can't do the test knit anymore or the pattern photos, is that okay? I'm absolutely certain she would have said no problem at all. In fact, some people here were not able to do the deadline, and she said she had plenty of feedback already, so you know, she wouldn't have been happy with people burning out for her pattern, which is really great, you know, as someone who organizes a test net, to foster this environment of a safe space where it's okay if life happens. And in my case, life happening wasn't even a big event. It was just me wanting to knit on my own projects instead of my test knit. And once I had this kind of deadline in my mind of like the week before to be able to do the photo shoot, I just was obsessive about it, and I was turning down my boyfriend for like going on dinner dates or things like that, or like watching a movie in the living room because I wanted to be like in my room with my pattern and my 2 balls of yarn, etc. Like, I'd rather spend the evening working on my test knit than I did like watching a movie with him. He doesn't watch these videos, but he knows. And so that was sad. Like, I really didn't like that about me. I didn't like that was my life now for the next 2 weeks, is this person who has to knit on something that she doesn't want to knit on. Because if this had been any other sweater, I would have dropped everything and just cast on all the new projects. Because right now, I'm at a place where I have the least amount of active works in progress. I have like 3 right now on the needles, which is including the hat, which is insane. I usually have like 8. I just didn't have anything else that I could work on. And anyway, I finished the sweater even earlier than planned. And I told myself I would not sign up to more test knits because I didn't want this to happen again. That was just too much stress. And it was just the duality of here's what I have to knit on and here's everything else, like outside, that I really want to knit on. It was just the stark contrast of what I can and can't do. And I was a bit annoyed at myself for having let it get to that point. So I don't know if anybody test knits, like, have you ever felt like that? But I really, really made a point, and I told my boyfriend, I said, don't let me do test knits again because of my type of personality and the way that I will take this, I will end up making it more of a burden than it needs to be. It's not that the designers are making this a burden for me. It's like I am absolutely 100% putting myself in that position and then complaining about the results of it. And I really don't like it when people do that, put themselves in the situation and then complain about it without changing the situation. So I don't want to be that person. So no more test knits, at least until like next season or next year, because I really want to just do all the ones that I want to do, and that will be great. So I'm really happy about that decision, happy that the test knit and the photo shoot is over. And then the second thing I'll talk about that is also a downer, but then we probably will change topics, is all the couple of weeks leading to the photo shoot. I was, really hyping it up in my mind, and I've never been professionally photographed, and I've always wanted to. I usually don't like myself in photos particularly, especially photos that I guess like other people take, especially if they're not good at taking photos. And there's always that like pit in my stomach if someone takes a photo of me and then they're about to show it to me, and I'm just so on edge about, am I gonna like this or am I gonna hate this? Because if someone takes a photo of me that I like, then it's like, okay, that's a relief, I like it, it's nice. And if someone takes a bad photo of me, then it's a huge downer, and then I'll be thinking about that for a lot. So I was a bit nervous about the photo shoot, but I thought, it's a professional photographer, I think it'd be really hard to not look good in them. So, I was putting my trust in Jasmine, the photographer. That I know the kinds of photos she takes because she does a lot of Rebecca's pattern photos. And a couple of weeks before the shoot, I started getting a spot on my chin. And you know what? I still have it. And it's been... And I have a bit of concealer now, so you might not even be able to see it. But yeah, so I've had this spot that hasn't even changed like size or shape or color for like 3 or 4 weeks. And at this point, I don't know if it's hormones or stress, which I guess is a hormone, or my diet or lack of sleep. Because I've been doing all the, face routine, hygiene, like... routine and rituals. I've done everything that I'm meant to and that I have control over. But getting more sleep or being less stressed, I have less control over that, and maybe that's why it's still there. But I was getting really, really stressed about it, which again doesn't help. But I was feeling very self-conscious, feeling like, why am I the only one with skin problems? The photo shoot is going to immortalize forever that I have bad skin. Everybody else will look flawless. Like, Rebecca's gonna use a photo of me where I have a huge pimple, and then everybody will know and find me out. And I know that these thoughts sound completely silly, to be nice about it. But I was really catastrophizing, and Ross, my boyfriend, kept on reassuring me, saying, if you don't talk about it, like, I forget that you even have it, like, I can barely see it. Then I say, you're just lying because you're trying to make me feel better, but it's all I can see. And then because I was in that negative spiral of self-image, then I started picking apart every other feature of myself that I didn't like and that I thought the photo shoot was going to immortalize. And that was really not nice. I was really worried that the photos were going to come back to me and that I would hate every single one of them, and that they would be the proof that I that I am an ugly person. And again, I'm going to stay true to my word. I will not edit this part out. That was probably way too candid and honest to put on YouTube, but I know that this video won't blow up. Like, I know that not a lot of people are going to see this, and the people who are watching this are, you know, like the little in-group of the Woolly Worker fans, and you guys have always been really nice to me, and I know this is a safe space for me to talk about those thoughts. I hope so anyway. If you're watching this and you're gonna be hateful about it, I would ask that you don't. But anyway, I was really down about my self-image. And it's also the reason why I don't post photos of myself on Instagram. Don't know if you've noticed, but I only post photos of the sweaters and the clothes flat or hung. I don't post any photos of me wearing them, and some people have suggested maybe I could post them being worn, but my face cropped, if that makes me feel more comfortable. I know there's a lot of faceless accounts there, and then obviously I could just get over it and post my face, because it's not for privacy reasons. Obviously, I am on YouTube. I am very public. My face is seen by a lot of people. Oh, sorry about that. My computer crashed and my microphone is connected to it, so might be a bit of a cut. And also, I don't know where I was because it took a bit to reboot everything. But I think I was saying that I don't have photos of me on Instagram. And yeah, and I guess I'm less fearful about it on YouTube, even though I have more followers there. Just feel like there's more scrutiny on Instagram. And I guess what it is as well is, if I go on Instagram and I look at my grid, then what I'll see is my face. And if I'm not in a particularly good mood, what if I don't like my face? What if I don't want to see my face? And what if I'm hypercritical of it and I just look at my Instagram and look at how bad it looks? You know, that might be something that happens, as opposed to YouTube, where unless I go and rewatch my videos, which I don't do, I can't be hypercritical of it. But I am working towards eventually putting my face on Instagram, because the only reason I'm not doing it is like by fear. So I don't think it's a good enough reason not to do something. In some cases, in this one, it's not a good reason for me personally. Not trying to say to anyone how to live their lives, but yeah. So that's kind of it. For the negative stuff was like all that pressure of the test knit and not being able to work on the knits that I wanted to, and then all those self-image thoughts and problems I was having with not feeling very pretty, and that coincided with a very important event of having my photo taken and not feeling at my best for it. So that was kind of negative and a bit hard to get through, but I did get through. And I finished the test knit, and then I started casting on new things. So I cast on the legs pullover, and then sweater number 22, which both had been on my list for a long time, and it was just pure joy. Just the feeling of being able to do what I want. And then with the legs pullover, at some point something didn't quite go well, so I just put it on the ice for a bit, and there was no pressure, no consequences of doing that. And I then cast on the sweater number 22, like, in the meantime. And that's really great to be able to do what I want. I feel like I have this newfound appreciation for being able to cast on what I want to cast on, knit at the pace I want to. There were some days where I didn't have much knitting mojo, and spend the day doing other things, like planning, planning some YouTube stuff, planning some knitting stuff, and yeah, just knitting less, but there was no guilt associated with that. So yeah, that experience with the test net made me realize just how much more I enjoy doing my own stuff, not answer to anybody, and having control over the cast-ons and time offs of my project. So I'll definitely be like taking a lesson from this and learning from that. It's not like I'm so sad that this happened, it's more like grateful that it happened and no one died, you know. And at the end of the day, I was able to meet the deadline and get the photos done, and now I enjoy my projects even more. So it's all good. Not that it has to be good. I also don't want to be the person who like has to put a positive spin on everything, because that's also not like true to life, or even true to me in general, like my personality. I'm definitely not like the radiant person who always finds a silver lining in things. I can be quite negative. But in this particular case, it really wasn't all doom and gloom. And then for the self-image thing, well, we went and did the photo shoot, and I was feeling quite nervous, but I spent all morning doing my makeup, and there was a whole thing of, do I overdo it? Do I overcompensate? Do I slather my face in foundation and then look odd to the others there, or look odd on photos, even worse? Because it's not like I'm good at makeup either. Like, I really usually just do my eyes, just do a bit of like a wing, and I never put face makeup on because I'm bad at it, and I feel like if you're bad at face makeup, you can tell. That's why I don't do it. So I did put a little bit of face makeup on. Like, I put the concealer on the spot and some like setting powder to make sure I wasn't like all shiny and greasy. And so I felt more confident on the day, knowing that my spot was covered. And Jasmine was lovely, really like reassured us and made us feel all natural and calm, easygoing. We just went in different little locations, just on like a big walk with friends, really, and every now and then one of the friends would take photos of you. It was quite fast in the sense that it was like, okay, Venicia, you go, do a few poses. Okay, now Rebecca, you go. Okay, now the other Rebecca. So it wasn't like I was in the spotlight at all times, and any other time a photo could be taken. Like, there were some candid shots, but most of them were like, okay, now I'm gonna take a photo. Anyway, so we had a really good day, and then a few days later, then we got the photos back, and I was so nervous when we got the link to the album. I was like, okay, let's go, let's see. And I love them. Long story short, I really like the photos. You probably will have seen some of them already by now, but the lighting is amazing. There's some photos of me with like the sun at the back, like you get that backlit glow, which it's amazing. And what I said earlier with, if I see a bad photo of me and it gets me really down, but if I see a good photo of me, I'm just like indifferent to it. But there were a few really good photos of me that made me feel more than just indifferent, and they made me feel really pretty and confident. So I guess that has boosted my self-esteem, and I'm really grateful. Like, I'm so grateful to Rebecca for like letting me be part of a photo shoot where I got my professional photos taken, and I liked the photos. I sent them all to my mom. She was very complimentary of them, like very elogious, and so was my boyfriend. So good boost there. And I mean, obviously you guys also have been quite nice on like the Instagram stories and under Rebecca's comments and everything. So yeah, it has been a journey with self-image and social media and knitting. To bring it all back to the knitting, I guess what I'm trying to say is that I got into knitting because I love the craft and the skills that are involved in making the stitches and the garments. I'm way less in it for the clothes and the fashion and the wearing and the modeling. I really don't like modeling, and I'm always anxious about the photos being good. And over the course of the podcast history, 9 months, my boyfriend has taken a lot of really bad photos of me that they're not good for my self-confidence. When I see that on my phone and I see some at a very unflattering angle or in the middle of me speaking, it kind of hurts me. But it is realistic. No one is going to look picture perfect at every given time, and yeah, there will be bad photos of you. That's a fact of life. But I just didn't realize just how much I would spend being annoyed at or thinking about or worrying about my self-image doing this knitting hobby. I guess it is one of the side effects that is not that great. And it is compounded by the fact I'm doing a podcast where I'm putting myself forward like this. Because if I was just doing it as a hobby, then all I would need to do are just wearing my clothes and going about, doing my day, and that'd be the end of it. But because I am taking all those photos and those videos, then I have to look good. I don't have to look good, but I want to look good. But I'm always trying to put everything back to the bigger picture, and, you know, being pretty isn't an ultimate goal in life, or it shouldn't be, and it isn't for me. And this is, I feel weird talking about those things, and I know I'm going to be putting them out here on YouTube, and people might disagree with me, or this might not be the video you wanted to see. And like I said, I didn't know I was going to talk that much about this and be so negative, but yeah, the life I want to lead, the things that make me happy, you know, it's going to be being proud of my achievements, making good connections with people, like having meaningful conversations with people, and long-lasting connections and relationships, seeing beauty in the world, like seeing nice places, having nice food, enjoying the pleasures of life, being grateful for them, not taking things for granted, improving myself, being better than I was 10 years ago, continuously until I die. Like, all of those things are things that I want from life, and things that I think, if I was on my deathbed, I would look back on and say, I've led a good life because I've done all of this. And being pretty isn't on that list, isn't one of the things that I want. I don't want to get prettier every year. I don't want pretty to be an objective, or a thing that I value my worth on, or things that I would like other people to value me for. You know, I wouldn't want things to relate my physical appearance to my other qualities. The whole thing of like, oh, if she's pretty, she can't be that intelligent, or if she's intelligent, she can't be pretty. Like, I don't know, it's just, we're inhabiting a guest space in this flesh and bones mode of transportation that carries our souls. Like, who cares about this envelope that we are? What matters is what's inside, right? Like, when I'm talking to you, I'm talking to your personality, not your physical attributes. And all of those thoughts I'm trying to verbalize basically is me trying to focus on, at the end of the day, in the bigger picture, in the grand scheme of things, physical appearance doesn't matter to me. I need to remind myself of that, because it is true. I'm not just lying to myself when I say it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter, and I believe that, but sometimes I lose sight of it. And I'm self-critical of myself, think I am ugly, get down, like let myself get down about that and think I'm so ugly and life is bad. Like, it isn't, and you aren't. But even if you were, you know, even if I was ugly, so what? Almost, you know, like, does that mean I deserve less happiness, or that I can't do the things I want to do? Like, it really doesn't. So anyway, I think I'm going to leave it there for that topic, because I think I've said everything I needed to say. Let me know if you have any thoughts about that. I'd really, really love to hear it. And in the past, I've really done my best to reply to all the comments, especially on the knitting chats, because people have been really forthcoming with their opinions, and have spent time and effort typing out a thoughtful response to some of those topics. And I guess I want to emphasize, yeah, if you want to talk back from the things I've said, I will happily discuss more in the comments with you, or even on Instagram if you'd rather speak about those things in private. I'm happy to do that too. Oh, sorry if I've been sneezing a lot and sniffling. I really hope it's not going to be too bothersome. But I can also feel like is that better? Yeah, no, I can hear something in my ear with my nose being blocked. Whatever. So let's finish on a good note, shall we? Because of that pressure that we need to finish on a good note. But no, I prefer watching videos that leave me feeling good, as opposed to, you know, when people go watch sad movies on purpose to make themselves sad. I don't think that you guys are watching my knitting YouTube videos to feel anything else than relaxation or inspiration. So I will give you what you're here for, which is relaxation or inspiration. So inspiration wise, I guess, then I have been feeling very much rekindled with my passion of knitting and fibers and yarn and everything, because now that the gates have freed up and I can knit whatever I want whenever I want, I obviously am still following my list of autumn plans, not because I have to, but because I made them for a reason. I really do love them. And I've been toying with the idea of like adding a new thing or removing one and following where the serotonin is. For example, I've ordered some new yarn, so maybe I'm going to cast that on just because I've been really good at knitting from stash. Like a few things I finished recently were from stash, especially old stash. So as a reward, you know, I could just cast on something completely wild. But yeah, I had said to myself that I wouldn't be buying much yarn this autumn because I already had everything I needed in my stash. I gave myself a couple of exceptions, such as if a very fancy yarn like Isager went on sale, I would not stop myself from purchasing it because it's quite rare. And then wouldn't you know it, a few days into September, Isager went on sale. So I bought that. And then Knitting for Olive also had a sale, which was actually their first ever one, according to them. So I also bought some yarn there. Sorry, there's just a weird stitch. I'm just going to drop it and pick it back up. Okay. So, yeah, I bought some Isager, bought some Knitting for Olive. Then there's going to be the hand-dyed festival soon, and I was filming my hand-dyed yarn inspiration video, which I posted, and that made me feel so inspired for hand-dyed. Like, that's the one that I was telling you about, that I spent so much time planning for instead of knitting. And I was having so much fun going on Ravelry and going on hand dyers shops and like looking at the bases and the fibers and just like I cannot wait to go to that festival because I've planned so well for it and I know exactly what I'm looking for, sort of like quantities and mood wise, but not necessarily like color wise. So I'm just going to be able to go to all the stalls and really like allow myself to buy stuff that I know what it will be used for, and with the confidence that it was thought through. And I feel like I've done so much of the project planning beforehand that I won't get stressed and overwhelmed during. So that's my hope. And I've been feeling super inspired with the hand dyed, feeling inspired with the yarn I already have, because I keep going on Ravelry and I keep on tagging my yarn. Like I tag the color of it. Recently I've been tagging to say what I've bought on sale and what I didn't, just for like knowledge. And wouldn't you know it, pretty much 80% of my stash I bought on sale. Isn't that insane? When I say that sales get me, like they really do. I abide by them. And you can see that in the fact that all my remaining stash here is like mostly from sales. So yeah, I've been having a lot of fun on Ravelry, just like studying my stash, studying my patterns, tagging them. Like I've tagged all my v-necks, I've tagged all my drop shoulders, things like that, just to know myself better, know what I gravitate towards. That was kind of my goal this year, was like know what I like, because I am a bit of a chameleon usually, where I hop on trends, I just do whatever other people are doing, or if I see something looking good on someone, I just kind of assume, oh, that'll look good on me too. And then it doesn't necessarily, or it doesn't like hit the same way. And so this year I've been trying out a lot of different things, color-wise, construction-wise, and fit, ease, etc. So that I know which ones click for me and which ones have that, oh yes, that fits well moment, and which ones don't. Because some of them will be just a meh, yeah, that's a garment, and others will be like, oh, that was made for you. And the ones that I keep reaching for, I've also sort of been tracking how often I wear things. I'm planning to maybe do an outfit video, but again, my flat is really, really the antithesis of photogenic. There's not a single neutral background naturally lit spot. It's either or. Either you get natural light or you get neutral. And I don't want to go outside like 10 times in 10 different outfits just to take videos. Like, I just know I won't do it. So if you ever want to see that video in the light of day, then you'll just have to settle for bad background and maybe bad lighting. But I think I'll prioritize good lighting, and who cares about the background. Then I'll show you outfits of how I'm actually wearing my knits this year, because I've really been wearing a lot of the knits this year, which is great. But not all of them. And I will talk about that in the future videos at some point, like the kind of actual verdict of what actually happened to this item that I talked about. Because again, on Instagram, you never see that, do you? Okay, I think I'm kind of running out of steam. And I don't want to start rambling for so long that you leave this video feeling like you could have just left it 10 minutes earlier. So let's leave on that note. I will reflect on how this was for me. I think this was great. Annoyed that my computer crashed halfway through. It killed my groove, but then we got it back. I'm so self-conscious about the things that I've talked about. Either they're like too real, too triggering, too negative, too honest. Is there such a thing as being too honest on the internet? I think there is. I still feel like in the grand scheme of things, like I'm happy with what I've said, and I don't think there's anything I said that I shouldn't have. And like I said, I think that you guys are very like open-minded or happy to receive whatever ramblings I give you, and I don't think that there's going to be any sort of negative consequences from me publishing this video. But I really would like to hear your opinion, and let me know about future knit and chats you'd like to hear about in terms of topics, because here, for example, I think I pretty much kept it to like 2-3 main topics. I think the timestamps I'm going to do are like anxious thoughts, test knitting, and self-image. That's pretty much what I think I talked about. And I would love to hear if you guys have other topics you'd like me to discuss. And I would also love to hear if you thought that this kind of very minimally edited, chill video was enjoyable, or if you would have rathered I cut it more, like hesitations and things like that. And as well as having more images on screen, or like if I'm referring back to a sweater I've made, do you want me to put a photo of it up on the screen, or are you happy to go check on my Ravelry instead? Let me know how you experienced that video from a consumer or viewer perspective. I certainly am happy I filmed today. Like I said, I was alone and I wanted some company, and that felt very cathartic. So if anything, thank you for allowing me to talk freely about all of those things and keeping me company the same way that I just kept you company as you were watching this. Wow, it's very meta, isn't it? Because you're watching this later, not right now. But it is right now for you. Yes, that is how YouTube works. Anyway, I have reached quite a nice point in my Oslo Hat where it's almost time for decreases. In fact, I hope I'm not going to cut this video and realize I've gone past the point I said I would. But I think it's good. I am so glad that we had a chance to talk today. Thank you so much for all the support and for interacting with me. Like, I do care about numbers. I am happy when they go up, but the thing that I love seeing the most by far are comments. I love seeing them, reading them, replying to them, and messages on Instagram. Like, I really, really like when it's a two-way street as opposed to just me talking. So please comment below and please chat with me. I would love to hear any of those thoughts on the things that I've talked about. And I hope that you're feeling well. If you're not and you're going through tough times, I'm really sorry to hear that. And I hope that things get better for you soon and that you have nice things around you to help you cope with that. And I will see you very soon for a future video. Bye. Take care.